News TV.
Focused on quality and convenience, there isn't much you won't find at Marie's Mini Mart. Home-style breads, sandwiches, plus a variety of artisan breads and delicious single-serve desserts available exclusively at our Frecker Drive location. Marie's Mini Mart, with 25 locations wherever you go, there we are.
Hello and welcome to Sharing Our Cultures. I'm Lloydetta Quaicoe, and joining me today are Anthony and Tolu. They're two amazing people who have written a book together, and they're going to be sharing their story with us. Hello and welcome back to Sharing Our Cultures. And joining me in conversation today is Dr. Anthony Akerele. Welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Good. I'm so glad that you were able to take time from your busy schedule to be with us today.
It's a pleasure being here today.
All righty,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Now, I'm very interested in your research.
Okay.
So maybe you can tell us a little bit about that. Oh, I should say congratulations. You've
Thank
now
you so
got your,
much. Thank you
your
so
doctorate.
much.
But
Yeah.
yes, tell us a bit more about that.
Yes, I did my PhD research on omega-3 metabolism during pregnancy,
Okay.
and looking at the effect on pregnancy progression and brain development. Omega-3 fatty acid are a group of lipids that we consume, but they are a special group of fatty acids that play key roles on different functions in the body. But I was specifically looking at DHA, and the importance of DHA cannot be overemphasized, specifically when it comes to neurodevelopment, brain development. And it's just like building a house. If you don't lay the right foundation, everything is going to be faulty eventually. So looking at the importance and the impact of DHA in neurodevelopment during pregnancy is very critical, because that is when the neurons are formed initially. And the impact of the formation will go on to affect the development of the brain at childhood and at adulthood. So I specifically was interested in that because when I was doing my master's in England, I looked at omega-3 fatty acid in pregnant obese mothers. And we saw something very fascinating on how omega-3 can regulate a lot of metabolic pathways in pregnant obese mothers. And we saw the impact of it on the development of the fetuses or the development of the offsprings that they were giving birth to. And that kind of sparked my interest to look at the pathways through which these can affect brain development and how we can regulate the amount or regulate the intake in such a way that we can have a positive pregnancy outcome. And that's how I came about my research.
Okay, fascinating.
Yeah.
So did you do any comparison?
So in my PhD study, I was not looking at the obese mothers. I was practically looking at pregnancy as an isolated condition. The reason being that during pregnancy, a lot of things do happen, a lot of changes. And as you know, it's broken down into 3 trimesters. And at those independent trimesters, you have a lot of things going on. The first trimester, you have the second trimester, and you have the third trimester. And you have a lot of interplay between maternal diet and other physical things going on. And the importance of this is that they affect the outcome of the pregnancy to the mother and to the offspring. So what I looked at essentially is to look at the effect of the diet, keeping all those other conditions constant to the best of our ability in the research.
And what were your major findings on that, on this effect?
We found out that, in fact, it was a very fascinating outcome that we discovered. There is let me call it a chemical called neurotrophin. Neurotrophin is very important in the development of neurons, in the development of the brain. And what we found out was that mothers consuming adequate amount of omega-3 fatty acid, specifically DHA, had higher level of these. And something very important with respect to that was that we used animals for the study. Those mothers had more fetuses, and they were able to sustain the pregnancy till the end. And we discovered that those that were not consuming enough of this, some of them did not sustain pregnancy till the end of the trimester. In fact, some of them had premature delivery, and some of them had reabsorption during that pregnancy process. And it was very fascinating to see how the amount of omega-3 you take during pregnancy can affect the length of your gestation and the outcome of the brain. So after making that observation, we took it a step forward to look at the brain of the fetuses. In this, we have 3 groups actually. So when we looked at those brains, we saw that there was accumulation of omega-3 in the brain samples of mothers consuming adequate amount of omega-3. And that accumulation translated into the increase in neurotrophins, specifically brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And this accumulation was very crucial in our finding, because when you have increase in brain-derived neurotrophic factor, what that means is that you have higher chance of having higher cognitive development.
Which is so important.
Very fascinating. Very fascinating to see that. Yeah.
So the higher the omega-3 fatty acid that was consumed by the mother during pregnancy,
exactly,
that was as much as you would find in the offspring and the length of gestation.
It causes accretion in the brain of the fetuses, and it regulated the gestation period. What that means is that there's what we call inflammatory cytokines, there's what we call anti-inflammatory cytokines. So what DHA was doing during pregnancy was regulating the balance between pro and anti-inflammatory cytokines. So let me explain this. During pregnancy, pro and anti-inflammatory cytokines play different roles depending on the stage of pregnancy. But when the balance is not maintained, what could happen is that at higher level of the pro-inflammatory cytokines, it could trigger parturition. What that means is that it could trigger the process leading to delivery. So when that process is triggered early, that's what gives birth to premature delivery in humans and things like that. So what the diet was doing is that it was maintaining a balance between the pro and the anti-inflammatory cytokines, giving the gestation period to go smooth and to be carried till the appropriate length of the gestation. And that was very, very interesting for us to see.
Yes, we're indeed fearfully and wonderfully made, as you were saying.
You can say that again, yeah.
Yeah. So then with this study and your findings, we can then have the information that obstetricians and gynecologists need to assist women prior to pregnancy, because I think they should be having in their diet as well and throughout pregnancy. Exactly.
There are a lot of regulations encouraging women to take adequate amount of omega-3 during pregnancy, but some people are reluctant in taking it because they really don't know the implication of that on the smooth progression of their pregnancy. So with evidence from my research, we can show people what could happen if they are not taking adequate amount of omega-3 in their diet. And essentially, it's about building up the supply, taking adequate amount even before pregnancy, and maintaining that adequate amount during pregnancy. And of course, the best way to get this is to consume fish that has high amount of this omega-3 in them. You talk about mackerel and all other fatty fishes, they have the adequate amount of it. But there are situations whereby people cannot consume fish directly, and they can take supplement. But the goal is to make sure that they build adequate reservoir of omega-3 before and during pregnancy to prevent adverse pregnancy outcomes.
Very good information to put out there. Thank you so much. That's very good.
Oh,
that's very good. I didn't know that, but I'm glad you did the research in that so that we could learn. And so now you are here living in St. John's.
Yes.
And you're working with NL Health?
Yeah, yes. Newfoundland and Labrador Health Services, yes.
Okay, Newfoundland and Labrador Health Services.
Yes, that's correct.
And so what does your work entail?
Currently, I work as the scientific specialist in lab medicine. Okay. So what I do essentially is bringing up methodologies to analyze samples in such a way that patient can have adequate and result on time in a correct way. And we have some expensive methodologies that are not available in the province before. So what I do is to coordinate some of the validation of these methods. And in an instance, I've actually developed a method. And one of the methods I developed is how to measure methylmalonic acid in plasma samples.
This is in addition to the research that you did.
It's in addition to that, yeah.
And so you developed that just through the work you were doing?
Yeah, in collaboration with other clinical biochemists available at Newfoundland and Labrador Health Services. So now we have that method, which is a method to determine the exact level of B12 in people. And you know that aged people and pregnant people are prone to B12 deficiency. And when there's deficiency in B12, a lot of things can occur with respect to that. So measuring B12 itself may not be accurate, especially during pregnancy, but determining methylmalonic acid, which is a product in the pathway for the metabolism of B12, gives an accurate result of what the B12 level is in those patients.
Well, thank you very much to you and your colleagues for all of that you've done.
I'm actually very grateful for the support I got from the clinical biochemist. The support was massive because I actually did that within my first year of employment with Newfoundland and Labrador Services here. It was Eastern Health then.
Right. So how long have you been working with them now?
Going to 4 years now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, going to 4 years now.
Okay, that's very good. And so you're contributing significantly, immensely to the work and health services here in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, and we really do appreciate you. Yeah, we're really glad you came.
Yeah, I'm privileged to be part of the progress here. Okay.
So how did you decide to come to Newfoundland?
That's a big question.
Oh, okay. Maybe we should hold off on that question till after.
I can break it down.
Okay.
I did my master's in England, like I said earlier, and I was looking at omega-3 consumption in pregnant obese mothers. So after that research, I was very happy about the outcome, and I wanted to take it a step further to look at how omega-3 can regulate brain development at different stages of pregnancy. So I looked up to see professors doing research in that line, and I found about 3 professors in Canada. So I emailed 3 of them. Actually, I went to church on a Sunday. I was very excited to just see that. And when I got back, I was a bit God brought something to my remembrance. Like okay, let me give you a backstory before I go into that. I met my wife in the uni. So one of these chats we were having, before she said yes, she asked me and said, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? Then me trying to escape the question, I just said Canada. So when I was in England then, and then I went to church that day, I got back, then Holy Spirit brought it to my remembrance that I promised somebody that I will be in Canada in 5 years. What have you done about it? Then I remembered. That was what led me to look for professors specifically in Canada, because I could have looked at everywhere else. So when I sent out 3 emails, I think, my mind was at rest, because now I started doing something about my promises. Before I woke up, my Professor Sukinda Chima, had replied. And that was what led to a series of conversations that brought me to Newfoundland in 2015.
Well, I'm so glad you came. Thank you so much. So we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to find a little bit more about what you've been doing with this person that you said you're going to be in Canada with.
Okay.
Okay. And Sharing Our Cultures will be right back.
Your opinion matters, and we want to hear from you. Get in touch with us using our viewer feedback line, your direct connection to shaping the shows you love. It's easy. Just grab your phone, scan the QR code on your screen, and take our quick survey. Share your thoughts, and let's make your viewing experience even better.
Welcome back to Sharing Our Cultures, and we're so delighted to have join a conversation with Dr. Anthony Akerele. It's his beautiful wife, Tolu.
Thank you.
So welcome again to Sharing Our Cultures.
Thank you for having me again.
Well, I know just as we finished the earlier part, you talked about meeting her in uni.
Yes.
So maybe we should go to you first, Anthony, and tell us how you met her, and then you can kind of fill in whatever the blanks that is left out.
Okay.
Okay, so how did you meet?
Oh yeah, like I said, we met in the uni. I saw her first in a year 2, but we didn't get to interact until year 3. And about leaving for an internship in year 4, that was when we had a conversation. And I saw this beautiful, smart, lady, and we had a conversation. We became friends, So, but I was trying to, take it to the next level because I had a conviction that she was going to be my wife. So I asked her out straight, and she kept me hanging for 1 year.
A whole year.
A whole year.
Okay.
So after 1 year, she said yes, and yeah.
And the rest is history, they say.
Yes, they say
Now,
it's history.
when you mentioned uni, where was that located?
That's Obafemi Awolowo University in Nigeria.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you. And together you have written a book.
Yes.
And I'm very interested in the title of it and how you came about deciding what it should be.
Yeah.
So maybe Tolu, you can tell us about that.
All right, thank you so much. So the title of the book, Cliff to Bliss, Building a Marriage That Thrives.
Yeah.
It was, I would say it was also like a product of a strategic meeting that we had. So we had spoken to a mutual friend of ours that we're writing a book. And out of the blues, he called us and said, well, there's something that's been in my mind for 2 weeks now about just God dropping it in my mind to, have a conversation with you. And, and we had that conversation, a lengthy conversation, I think over 2 hours. And from there, it spoke about, you need to get a very captivating title and, and all the things that we need to do. Yeah. But before then, we had a title for the book. So it wasn't the title that we're going to use, but it was what the book was all about, which is A Happy Marriage is Possible.
That's correct.
Because that's the main mission, is to sell, because there's an agenda where, you can just, there's a lot of divorce, there's a lot of this, which we understand that people have issues. But it's also important to also put it out there that it's possible for you to have a happy marriage and be thriving in your marriage. All right, so we had that at the back of our mind, but then we needed to get a title. So we came up first with about 18 titles, and then we broke it down to 7, and then we broke it down to 5. And how did we come about it? I think Anthony was in the kitchen, and he said, yes, I got it. We want you to communicate bliss. And then we want to really speak about how we actually have cleaved to each other to be able to achieve this bliss that we have. And so he said, well, yes, that's it, Cliff to Bliss. But then, like I said, we had 5 titles that we wanted to share because, of course, we're writing a book, but not just for us, we're writing for people. So we wanted to know how it will be received. So a few of our friends, we sent them a poll of the 5 titles to say, help us to choose a title. And so we went with the most, and of course, before we sent it out, we knew what the first 2 that we're looking at. Yeah. And so, interestingly, the first one we had in mind, which is Cliff to Bliss, Building a Marriage That Thrives, was the one that the majority went for, and that's how we came about the title.
Wow, okay, divinely purposed.
Yes.
All right, so take us from where, now you've already said yes to him. What was the journey like from then? Like, how did you progress in this relationship? And tell us a little bit. I think there's a story.
That
would be very interesting to hear.
Okay, so it wasn't a smooth ride. At first there was no acceptance from my parents. They said no, right? So it was a battle of waiting. You know, he was waiting, but but I was so sure that he was the one for me. And like, you know, people ask me how sure were you? I just had this peace, you know, in my mind, you know, and I just knew he was genuine. I just knew. And you know, sometimes I tease him to say that, you are so good, you are too good to be true. Are you really for real? Because because I knew that there was that initial rejection from my parents, and of course that's because we attended, you know, different churches, and there's a thing about, you know, and of course which came about, you know, it's a good way of saying that they want to preserve you and ensure that, oh, you're not mixed with someone that doesn't have the same belief system as you and all that. Of course, we're both Christians, but then, of course, the churches that we attended, you know, that we're born into was different. So, but then I'm glad that my parents saw beyond that and, you know, of course, sought to, you know, pray and to even ask God that what does God really want for this girl, and they saw it, and then of course they agreed, and we eventually got married. But of course we dedicated a chapter to talk about that in the book, because we know that there's so many people that have missed the one for them, you know, just because of that initial disapproval. Because we could have just said, you know what, I'm tired of this, let's just, you know, go our separate ways, right? And of course, we wouldn't even do it without our parents' blessing, because we know that that's very important as well. So we had to convince them, you know, and we're grateful that, you know, eventually after 5 years, you know, of saying yes to him, they said yes, and then we got married.
Yeah. Can you give me maybe 2 things that you would say are really important for marriage bliss, or this cleaving to bliss?
First of all, like she has said earlier, I would like to reiterate the fact that happy marriage is possible. Okay. Happy marriage is possible. That's the first thing. And that's the central theme of Cleave to Bliss. And the second thing we would like to say is that we prioritize scriptures over cultures. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of cultural inclinations that could thwart the scriptural idea of how a marriage should be set up. And that's one of those things we actually expose in our book. And, you know, we said it at the beginning that our readers should have an open mind, because the scriptural backings are things that would ever remain, but there's some cultural conflict that can change the original idea of how a marriage can look like or should look like. And those are the things we, you know, touched on throughout the book.
Yeah, with our experience. And I wanted to also say that, you know, we spoke specifically about the purpose of a marriage. Because, you know, we started to say that a happy marriage is possible. So, you know, someone might think, oh, the marriage is just to make you happy. Yes, it's to make you happy, but it's towards an end. So it's important that couples coming together to know that their marriage is bigger than them. It's bigger than just your individual happiness. It's to fulfill a purpose. So what is that purpose that your marriage is to fulfill? You have to identify it and work together, you know, to be able to achieve it.
Okay. Well, this is a good point here for us to listen. You've told us when we read. If we could maybe listen to a short excerpt from the book, maybe chapter 2.
Yes.
Yeah? And,
yes.
And Tolu will read that.
Okay, sure. So I will do chapter 2, which is titled Location as an Advantage. All right, so actually this is a portion that Anthony wrote, but I'm going to start reading. All right, so we spent our first 3 nights as a married couple in a hotel in Ibadan, Oyo State, Nigeria, the same city where we had our wedding celebration. You may wonder, why is that a big deal? Well, as the groom, this experience was not the cultural expectation, at least for my parents. Before our wedding celebration, my parents had requested that Tolu and I spend our wedding night in their home in Ilesha, Osun State, Nigeria. They wanted to honor the cultural heritage of bringing the wife home. However, we knew we wanted to build our home on the scriptures, as you will see in chapter 4 on Live and Cleave, and not on the dictates of our culture. Hence, we made a decision that symbolized a cautious departure from cultural expectations. And when the subject of staying over at my parents' place came up again, I had a frank conversation with my parents, and I respectfully told them that we wouldn't be following this tradition and that we had made our own arrangements. Tolu and I both felt strongly about leaning on God's guidance as we embarked on our journey together. Later on, I raised the matter with Tolu, my soon-to-be wife, and we discussed it thoroughly. even though she thought the request was a bit odd, she was particular about my response. Yes, I think I'll stop that. Because
thank you so much.
Yes.
Well, that's interesting. I'm glad that he wrote it and you read it. That's good for marriage, please. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming in and having this conversation.
Thank you so much
and all the best, and all the best for the book as well when you launch it.
Thank you so much for having us.
You're very welcome. And Sharing Our Cultures will be right back. Thanks to Anthony and Tolu for sharing their amazing story with us, and thanks to you for watching. Join me again next time and meet people from around the world who have come here and made this place their home.
If you want convenience, Marie's Mini Mart is here for you. A one-stop shop for a variety of products, home-style breads, sandwiches, plus check out our freshly baked artisan breads and single-serve desserts exclusively at our in-store bakery on Frecker Drive. With 25 locations, wherever you go, there we are.
At Sharing Our Cultures, our programs, projects, and events focus on engaging school children and youth from diverse cultural backgrounds as they integrate into the society in Newfoundland and Labrador. We connect them with the locals and community partners for opportunities to improve their socio-cultural and employability skills, and most importantly, to make new friends. We invite you to learn more about Sharing Our Cultures on our website, YouTube channel, and social media platforms.
We want to hear from you. Provide feedback on this show or find out how you can get involved. Call, email us, or scan the QR code to take our quick survey.
Are you low on food? Struggling to pay the bills? Overwhelmed by life's challenges? When you need support but don't know where to turn, just dial 211. 211 connects you to the programs or services near you.
211, how can I help you?
211, help starts here.
You're watching an interesting local show on Rogers TV and you want to know more. That's when you head to rogerstv.com. Our website provides more information about our programs, our hosts, our schedule, and about how you too can get involved with